أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing great and are ready to move on to the third lesson of section B. We have already studied Haroof Jar and their combinations with pronouns and how they make jar majroor fragments. In this lesson, inshallah, we are going to study the haroof that cause the ism to be in nasab form. Okay, and this is something that is indicated by the topic of this lesson itself. So, haroof nasab. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get on with the lesson, and let's ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help and to and to ask him to make this easier for us to teach and to understand. So Rabbi Yasir wala tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Alright, now this is the overview of the entire topic. Let's zoom it up. I know it seems really busy right now, but it summarizes each and every aspect of this topic, okay? First of all, let's begin with its name. It says inna and its sisters, okay? And why inna and why not any other harf? Because that's how Arabs wanted it. Okay, so that's how they have named it, inna and its sisters. So they have just taken this inna to be the representative of its group. Okay, so inna, and in Arabic it's called inna wa ikhwatuha. Okay, ikhwatuha means its sisters, actually her sisters, but since we are doing it in English as well, so it's sisters. Inna wa ikhwatuha. And the best name that I feel for it is Haroof Nasb. It is not an official name, but since it gives the concept away, I like to call these haroof as Haroof Nasb, because we know Haroof Jar, and then that's how we understood and we remembered what they do. That's why I like to call these Inna and its sisters, I like to call these Haroof Nasb, because that gives their secret away. Okay, so Haroof Nasb. They are also called Haroof Mushabbah bil Fail, because they resemble to the action of fail. And what does a fail do? It causes its maf'ul to be in nasab form. Okay, so that's why they are also called the haroof that resemble fail, because they cause their ism to be in nasab form. But I don't want to bombard you with those terminologies right now. Stick to the haroof nasab. That is my advice to you for now. Alright, next we have the haroof themselves. So there are 6 haroof. Let's zoom it up so that we can see their meanings as well as their haroof. Alright, so there are 6 haroof in this group, and for the sake of memorization, I like to divide these into 2 groups. We have inna, anna, ka, anna. These kind of rhyme with each other, so I grouped them together. Inna, anna, ka, anna, and then the ones that begin with lam. So laita, lakinna, la Allah. Okay, inna, anna, ka, anna, laita, lakinna, la Allah. Inna means indeed. Anna means that, and it means a lot of other things. Okay, that is going to be unraveled as we progress, inshallah. So anna means that, and it is also used for giving some emphasis. Okay, so indeed, but and another important thing is that inna is in the beginning of a sentence and anna is in the middle of a sentence. Okay, and we'll see some examples. So for example, I can tell you right now that ashhadu anna muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Okay, so anna, as you can see that it was after ashhadu. Okay, so that's one of the examples, and inna is always in the beginning of the sentence. All right, then ka anna means as though or as if. Laita means if only. Lakinna means but or however. La Allah means so that or maybe or hopefully. All right, so these are their meanings. Okay, now a little comment about 2 haroof. Lakinna, it's the same as lakin in Urdu. Okay, and ka anna, it is a combination of 2 haroof. Now this ka is actually your ka from haroof jar. Okay, this is ka, which means similar to or like, and anna is this anna. Okay, so it means like that. And what's a more appropriate way of saying like that? It is saying as if or as though. By the way, this that is not the pointing that. Okay, this is not the pointing that. This is a simple that. I told you that blah blah blah. Okay, this is that, not the pointing that. Okay, so we are done with these. Now, by the way, you're going to find many combinations of haroof in Arabic. Okay, so for example, you also have min plus ma. Okay, it becomes mimma. Okay, so you're going to find many combinations like this. All right, next we have this pentagon. There are 5 important points that we need to learn about this group. Okay, we have 5 important points. Let's cover them one by one. By the way, they're all very easy. Okay, you don't need to freak out at the busy slide. Okay, first of all, they cause their ism to be in nasab form as the name indicates. Okay, so for example, we have the harf inna and we fix it or join it with al insanu. It would become innal insana. Okay, so insanu becomes insana. That's our first point. The ism gets converted into its nasab form. Okay, innal insanu, inna plus al insanu becomes innal insana. All right, first point done. Second point is this one, quite easy. Harf and its ism. Now this entire combo is followed by the auxiliary verb, any auxiliary verb. Okay, it just has to be appropriate. Now what are auxiliary verbs? They are the helping verbs. For example, if I say he driving, it is wrong. It has to be he is driving or he was driving. All right, so this is or was or are, all these things are helping verbs. Okay, and this is something that we need for English. Okay, then our example is inna plus al insanu, it becomes innal insana. Okay, and then this combination is followed with the appropriate auxiliary verb. Indeed, the mankind is. Okay, all right, we're going to study their examples, so don't worry if you can't exactly get this overview. All right, now the third point. What is it? It says innal insana. All right, so you see the harf and its ism are right next to each other. However, there may be some scenarios where the ism is not exactly next to the harf itself. Okay, so there might be some other words which may either be single fragment. There might be a single fragment, or there might be a single word, or loads of fragments, and then you'll find the mansub ism of inna right at the end of the sentence. There are examples showing this thing as well. Okay, so they may be next to each other or they may be further apart. Okay, this XYZ shows this intervening fragments or words. Okay, so these were our 3 points. What's the fourth one? Fourth one says that it has light variance. Now the light variance is something that we're going to learn in fail section. Okay, but just for the sake of completion, I decided to include this point. Okay, so now what is a light variant? It is simply a noon with sukoon. Okay, that is it. And of course the haroof that carry noon in the end, they are going to be the ones that carry their light variants, of course. Okay, so noon with sukoon is your light variant. In, an, ka'an, lakin. They were inna becomes in, anna becomes an, ka'anna becomes ka'an, lakinna becomes lakin. Okay, and our final point. Okay, what does it say? You may not understand it at this moment, but when we are done with this topic, inshallah you'll understand it. What does it say? It says that this harf ma acts as a shield for the ism, as a result of which the ism remains rafa. Okay, we can see our inna over here, then we added ma to this inna, it became innama, and then this ma has this shielding effect for the ism, so ism becomes rafa again. Okay, so innama, when combined with its ism, becomes innamal a'malu. See this, amalu. Okay, so and this ma is, by the way, it is added to add more emphasis to the statement. Okay, we're going to elaborate on it shortly. Alright, so this was the overview and pretty much the entire concept. So let's proceed with some elaboration. Alright, first of all, they convert their ism to nasab form. Our example is innallaha and innal insana. Quite understandable, I think. Okay. Next point was that the harf nasab and its ism may not always be together. Okay, now we have the example for that. Anna lahu naran. Okay, now what is this lahu? This lahu is actually your jar majroor fragment, if you remember, because this lam is your actual li, the harf jar li. All right, and from the lesson that I did a couple of days ago, it was about the pronouns as majroor. Okay, so with who it becomes la. Okay, so lahu jar majroor. Okay, now anna lahu. Whenever you see any harf nasab, check right next to it. What do you see? Do you see an ism? No, you don't. In this case, you see lahu, you see a jar majroor fragment. Then it is obvious that its ism is going to be somewhere down the line. Okay, so that's what you do. You, after recognizing this fragment or word or whatever it is, you move ahead. What do you see? You see naran. Now you see that it is in mansub Arabi form, and there is no other reason for it to be mansub. Alright, so if you remember, I told you that there are about 10 conditions where an ism is in mansub state. Now mansub is just like majroor, okay, because both of them rhyme with maf'ul. So majroor is something that is made jar, and mansub is something that has been made nasab. So saying nasab ism or nasab form is the same as saying mansub. Okay, alright, so this naran is mansub or nasab form, and there are about 10 reasons for any ism to be in nasab form, and we have covered 2 of them now. Okay, so one was it being a maf'ul, and the second one is this. It should be preceded with any harf nasab. Okay, so if you find a mansub ism that is mansub because of no other reason, okay, no other remaining 9 reasons that is, then of course it's going to be the ism of anna or any other harf nasab. Okay, so that's what you do if you don't find the ism right next to it. Anna lahu naran. Lahu means for him, naran is fire. Okay, the third point. It says the harf plus ism combo is followed by an appropriate auxiliary verb. Alright, so you can see the combo here, innallaha, and this combo is preceded with your this thing, auxiliary verb, and here the appropriate auxiliary verb is. So indeed Allah is. Okay, next example is innal insana, and this combo has been followed by its appropriate auxiliary verb, which is again is. So indeed the mankind is ... Okay, because remember we are doing fragments here, we're not doing sentences. Alright, now when we say innal insana, this is just for the sake of revision, what comes to our mind? This does. Lafi khusrin. Okay, now this lam here is not the lam ijara, which is your harf jar. Okay, this is not li or a variant of li. There are many different uses of the harf of the particle lam. Alright, and this is just one of them, that it puts stress to the statement. Okay, but right now we're not doing it. We will cover the different ways of putting stress or emphasis in a sentence. All right, but right now we just ask you to ignore this lam and this lam is, by the way, called lam ta'kid. All right, so we're not doing it right now. What comes next? It says fi khusrin. Fi is harf jar, khusrin is it's majroor. Okay, jar and majroor always stick to each other. They are inseparable. They cannot be separated from each other. Okay, fi khusrin. So you see how you are now witnessing two fragments together. You have innal insana and you have fi khusrin. Okay, indeed the mankind is definitely in a loss. Next example, anna lahum jannatin. Now this is the instance where our ism of anna is not right next to it. Okay, instead it is traversed by this lahum. Okay, lahum is once again your jar majroor fragment, la and then hum, for all of them. Okay, jannatin. So this jannatin is nasab. Okay, and as we said that the combination is followed by your auxiliary verb. So anna lahum jannatin. What's happening here? As I said, it has been traversed by this lahum. How would you translate it? That gardens are combo. Okay, that gardens are for all of them. All right, or it can be translated as that for all of them are gardens. Okay, now how did you notice how I put a slight and very subtle stress on all of them? Because that's how it is supposed to be said. Anna lahum jannatan. Okay, because the actual sequence is anna jannatin lahum, because the jar majroor fragment is present at the end. Okay, but since this has been brought first, it means that a certain degree of subtle stress has been present, has been put on lahum. All right, next, light variants of haroof that end in noon and fatha in tashdid. All right, so this is something that we're going to cover in the fail section. And the final point, which is ma. Now what does this ma do? It gives a shielding effect to the ism against the harf nasab. Why do I keep saying it? Why do I keep calling it a shielding effect? Because, okay, let me show you. You have inna, all right, or any harf nasab for that matter. What does it do? What is its action? Its action is to turn the ism into nasab form. Okay, that's what it does. So when something comes here, for example ma, it acts as a shield. Okay, so this nasab retains or resumes its rafa form. That's why, that is it. Okay, and that's why I have that's how I have showed it. Okay, and this ma is added to give extra emphasis to the text. Okay, as you will see shortly. Now our example. All right, so we have our example, amalu. It is a jama mukassir of the word amalun, okay, which means a deed or an action or an act, and we have its jama mukassir al-amalu. All right, what do? We add a harf nasab to it, any harf nasab. For example, we add inna, so it would become innal a'mala. All right, nasab form, innal a'mala, and then since we have our combo here, the auxiliary verb gets here. Indeed, the deeds are ... right? We want to put some more stress to it. Okay, so what do? We add ma. Okay, we have added ma, and once it becomes innama, it gives a shielding effect to your ism, which then becomes rafa once again. Okay, so innamal a'malu. Okay, indeed, most definitely the deeds are. All right, see how stress has been added to this fragment, this statement. All right, now what comes to our mind when we think innamal a'malu bin niyati? Okay, now we know innamal a'malu. All right, we have just studied it. Let's dissect this word bin niyati. Okay, it is a jar majroor fragment, as you can see from this b. All right, and this, which b is your harf jar. Okay, and this ati is your um, your suffix, all right, jar suffix for jama salim feminine. Okay, so bin niyati. Indeed, most definitely the deeds are dependent upon the intentions. Now, this dependent upon is something that I had to write because of because I wanted to make it sound fine and correct in English. Okay, because you can't exactly translate it with or in, so that's why you have to change it somehow. All right. While we are at it, let's just revise it a bit. We dissect this word bin niyati. Okay, so we remove its harf jar, it becomes an niyatu and not al niyatu. Okay, why? Because noon is one of those letters that have the capability to silence this lam. Okay, so it becomes an niyatu. All right, what happens next? We make it nakra again by removing this al, so it becomes niyatun. Okay, this atun, as I said earlier, is your suffix for jama salim feminine plurals. So if you check it out, you get your timer buddha once again, so it becomes nijatun, and this is your singular feminine word nijatun, which means intention. Okay, so learn how to go backwards from a given word. Okay, that would really help you retain your concepts. All right, now the final example is innamal mu'minuna ikhwatun. Innama, shielding effect, rafa, ism. Innamal mu'minuna, auxiliary verb. Ikhwatun, brothers. And if we remove this ma, it becomes this. Innal mu'minina, nasab form, auxiliary verb, ikhwatun. Now, I'm not going to translate it for you, okay? Test yourself if you're able to translate it, okay, and if you're able to understand it, then thank Allah, all right, and ask him to put more barakah in your learning sessions, inshallah. So this introductory section for Haroof Nasb has been completed, alhamdulillah. Now in the next lesson, inshallah, we are going to form these fragments with the pronouns. All right, and we're going to study a couple of more examples. So till that lesson, barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al Hakim. All right, and I will meet you in the next lesson. Allah Hafiz.